Namamasko, suot ang masko, nakasanitize na ang kamay. I-minimize ang usapan, maaliwalas ang pagdarausan ng handaan.
Kahit tayo lang, tuloy ang saya, makikita sa mga mata. Salamat sa pag-iingat, ang lahat magpabakuna na. Oh, oh.
Ligtas Christmas sa Healthy Pilipinas. Stay safe to the max para sa Healthy Pilipinas. Damhin ang diwa ng pagdiriwang, biyaya sa bawat nilalang para sa Healthy Pilipinas. Bakunado man, bawal gumamit ng torotot.
Mas malakas ang pananabik sa isa't isa, ngunit walang magpapaputok.
Ligtas Christmas sa Healthy Pilipinas. Stay safe to the max para sa Healthy Pilipinas. Damhin ang diwa ng pagdiriwang, biyaya sa bawat nilalang para sa Healthy Pilipinas. Stay safe to the max para sa Healthy Pilipinas.
Res bakuna. Tara na, mag-res bakuna para bawas pagamba. Dahil sa res bakuna, bawat buhay ay mahalaga. Sa res bakuna, huwag kang patatalo sa pagsubok na ito. Ituloy natin ang laban, mayroon tayong paraan. Tuloy ang trabaho, tuloy ang pag-aaral. Para sa kapwa Pilipino, para sa ating mga mahal. Tara na, mag-res bakuna para bawas pangamba. Dahil sa res bakuna, bawat buhay ay mahalaga. Mag-res bakuna, mas protektado ang pamilya. Kasaganang mas hugas iwas, kinabukas ay maganda. Sa res bakuna. Laging handa. Laging handa. Baha, tagtuyot, sunog, lindol, bagyo. Mga kalamidad na likas sa ating mundo. Napapahamak ang buhay at kabuhayan. Kaya naman kailangan ng paghandaan.
Maging handa, maging alerto. Tungkulin to ng bawat mamamayan. Kaya tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat dapat na maging laging handa. Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat dapat na maging laging handa. Laging handa.
Kalamidad ay maaasahang darating.
Sa di inaasahang oras,
Kaya naman hindi na dapat hintayin. Unahan na habang di pa natataranta.
maging handa, maging alerto. Tungkulin to ng bawat mamamayan. Kaya tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat dapat na maging laging handa. Tara na,
Suriin mo mabuti ang iyong kapaligiran. Saan ka ba nakatira? Diyan ba ay bumabaha? Tuwing gamot pagkain, kumot pang sindi, first aid kit. Mga gamit panligtas ng buhay dapat mabitbit. At sakaling lumindol o sumabog ang bulkan, meron bang madadaanan palayo sa kasawian? Panahon na ay malupit at ang hangin hagupit. Mabuti na lang na tayo ay laging nakahanda.
Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa. Tara na, kilos na, lika na, tumulong tayo. Gawin na po ang karapat-dapat na maging laging handa.
This message was brought to you by the Department of Education with the support of World Vision Development Foundation.
Okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. School-based feeding program pagtibayin. Wastong pagkain ating ihahain, mga batang kulang sa timbang. Ating pakakainin ng Go, Grow, and Glow. Adolescent reproductive health ay gawing gabay at patnubay ng batang mausisa ay di maranasan. Ang early pregnancy ay maiiwasan. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo sumama. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. National Drug Education Program or NDE kung tawagin. Ito'y paigtingin, mga bisyo'y alisin. Sigarilyo at droga'y dapat nang puksain. Water sanitation and hygiene in schools ating kompletuhin, 3 stars ay abutin. Malinis na tubig, segregated na toilet, group hand washing at may napkin na rin. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo sumama. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Medical, dental, and nursing services na atin ding binibigay upang matugunan problemang pangkalusugan ng mga guro at kabataan. Kalusugan ay mahalaga sa edukasyon ng mga bata. Tayo na't magkaisa, halina tayo sumama. Tara na okay, Oplan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay o plan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Tara na okay o plan kalusugan sa DepEd. Halina't alamin atin ang tuklasin, mga health programs ating palaganapin. Okay talaga sa DepEd. Okay talaga sa DepEd.
Kristanos! Ay mo ako! Kristanos!
The child embodies our ultimate vision that every Filipino learner will realize their full potential and ultimately reach their biggest dreams, no matter how high, no matter how hard, through quality education. And as our learners aim to soar, we must continue to elevate our goals. Rising, the kite is our emblem of aspiration to deliver the brand of quality in Philippine basic education. The quadrants of the soaring kite symbolize the key reform areas in forwarding this cause as we embark on this aggressive reform to yield upskilled teachers, well-developed curriculum, improved learning environment, and responsive multi-stakeholder cooperation. Using the colors of our flag, the logo symbolizes our unity and serves as a reminder that it takes a nation to educate a child. Together, we as a nation will have to move forward and gain more momentum so that our vision of quality basic education for all shall take flight. Sama-sama sa pagsulong ng edukalidad.
Good morning, DepEd Division of Davao del Norte.
Good morning, Davao del Norte, and welcome to the third day of our webinar on contextualizing assessment across all learning areas.
I know for certain, Ma'am Bing, that our teachers are very much excited to our last day of the division training, a workshop for contextualizing assessment across all learning areas. And I know for certain also that yesterday was a very productive day, not only to us, but also to our fellow teachers here in the Davao del Norte.
Yes, definitely, Sir Marco. Actually, it's really a mind-draining activity, but we believe that our teachers are very enthusiastic to provide and produce quality learnings and teachings towards our students.
Yes, ika nga, di ba? Sabi nila, ma'am, para sa bata, para sa bayan. So at this moment of time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to be energized in our respective classrooms, faculty, kahit saan man ka ngayon, bahay. Okay, so now please indulge with us with our energizer this morning. Sir Ash, take it away, sir.
Before we indulge ourselves to our energizer, let's have first our nationalistic song and our prayer to bless us this morning.
at sa kanyang lumi at ganda. Dayuhan ay nahalina, bayan ko, pinihag ka, nasadlak sa dusa. Ibon ang malayang lumipad, kulangin mo ay tumiyak. Bayan pa kayang sakdal dilag, ang di I pray you will find your
nel
love
cuore le spera
and hold it in your heart.
a ricordarci
When stars go out each night,
l'eterna stella sei
ooh,
Delia mia preghiera
let this be your prayer.
quanta fede
When
c'è
shadows fill your day,
lead us to a place
guide us with your grace to a place where we'll be safe.
sogniamo un mondo senza più violenza un mondo di giustizia ed speranza ognuno dia l'onore al suo vicino simbolo di pace di fraternità la forza che ci
Years and life
il
begun,
desiderio che
just from above.
ognuno traviamo
We hope each soul will find
intorno dentro a sé
another soul to love. Let this be your prayer. Let this be your prayer.
just like every child
Just like every child.
need to find a place guide us with your grace give us faith so we'll be safe e la fede che hai senso in noi sento che ci salverà
again, maayong buntag sa ato ang mga dear participants. And right now, we're going to have our audience check who are present already in our group chat. So, Big.
Yes! So, pa-shout out tayo, of course, sa aking school head, Sir Joseph Henry Tuna. Magandang umaga po, sir.
Oh, yes, also shout out then to my school head, Sir Ricardo M. Olmedo Jr. of Santo Tomas National High School, and also shout out din sa Balagunan Elementary School, spearheaded to us by Sir Ramon Lanzadera, sir, and all the teachers of Balagunan Elementary School. Maayong buntag sa atuwa diha.
And of course, to my co-teachers of Tuhali National High School, maayong buntag sa inyo, ma'am and sir.
And to Sunlon National High School, good morning each one of you there, headed to us by Ma'am Marieta, Dr. Marieta Ranis, and to all the teachers of Sunlon National High School, good morning everyone. At this moment of time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to have our recapitulation to our yesterday's activity, we have Mama Leah Jane Delma of Kapalong, a teacher 1 of Kapalong National High School. Ma'am. Alright, so as of the moment, we are going to have our shout out first from the different parts of Davao del Norte nga mga teachers nga present sa tuwa this morning here sa tuwang live. We have Ma'am Tunette Isaac. Good morning po, watching from Carmen National High School, #Morpa.
Shout out din sa mga school heads ng Ligoyan Elementary School, Sir Leonardo B. Item, Sunchon National High School, Sir Azar Samsona, Ma'am Lordeline A. Buyo of Carmen National High School. We also have here from Alihal Elementary School, Ma'am Angelina Tagaro, Ma'am Hazel Manigos of Lumundong Elementary School, and Sir Robert Bayatin of Macgum Integrated School. And of course, school head po ng Baltazar Nicor National High School.
And also, good morning din po sa lahat ng ating mga PSDS that are present sa ato ang live karong buntaga. And to all the school heads nga naka-antabay gyapon sa ato karon ng link for this 3-day webinar series that we're having here at DepEd Division of Davao del Norte.
Pa-shout out din sa school head po ng Tugod National High School, Sir Abelardo Cardinal. Hello, sir.
Ayan po. From our group chats, ma'am, we have here, good morning, watching from Kasigaang Elementary School, Santo Tomas East District, #winner ka. We have also from Ma'am Janona Manligues. Good morning, everyone, watching from Asuncion National High School, Asuncion District. So please do not forget to use your hashtags po in each districts.
Again po, to Sir Martin C. Manera of Baltazar Nicor Valenzuela National High School. Hello po, sir. Coming from Sir Cherwell.
Yes. And also, we'd like to acknowledge our TW Technical Working Group together with our different facilitators of each district, ma'am. I know they are having really a very sometimes medyo struggle but they are really trying their best to be able to come up with a lot of inputs na mahatag sa ito ang mga yes teachers, because it's not really easy to facilitate this division-wide training workshop series na ito ang ginahatag karon sa mga teachers. We have Ma'am Brenda Catalia. Good morning, watching from Asuncion National High School, basta MAPE, grabe! Oh yes, Ma'am Brenda has always been a very proud MAPE teacher MAPE teacher of Asuncion National High School. Hi Ma'am Brens, mayong buntag sa ato diha. Also, we have here another shout out from Ma'am Daisy May Orculio Ranera. Pa-shout out po sa principal namin sa Libungan National High School, Carmen, Sir Ray Malubay. #Umorpa. Ayan po, shout out sir. Good morning sa atua diya.
And of course, we would like to recognize also here on the studio our own Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. D. De Silva. Hello, ma'am.
Hello ma'am, good morning po. Good morning ma'am, thank you for being with us this morning. Hi ma'am. And also, once again, the continuing support of the DepEd Division of Davao del Norte has been overflowing ever since day one. So, thank you for all the educational leaders that are helping and giving us a whole wide support sa ato ang para lang mahimong successful ang ato ang event, Ma'am Bing.
Actually, it's very productive activity.
For again, sa ato ang we are still embracing the concept of sulong edukalidad, and that's a concept and a mantra of promoting quality education in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. This sulong edukalidad mantra has been one of the greatest principles that the Department of Education has been following. So right now, once again, to give a recapitulation sa atuang event na naitabo kahapon, the activities that we had yesterday, we have Ma'am Leah Jane Delma of Teacher 1 of Kapalong National High School. Let's give her a warm welcome, everyone.
To our Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. D. De Silva, to our Assistant Schools Division Superintendent, Dr. Rebecca Casasagot, to our CID Chief, Dr. Edward C. Amugis, to all education program supervisors, to all the principals, school heads, and to my co-teachers, good day. Welcome back to our 3-day Division Seminar Workshop on contextualizing assessment across all learning areas. I'm Leah Jane A. Delma of Kapalong National High School. Today, my task is to give recap of yesterday's activities. I will share to you some of the highlights and the things I have learned. Our first speaker yesterday was Professor Emmy Cabanlit, Associate Professor 4 of University of Southeastern Philippines. She discussed all about unpacking and situating the melts in a context. She enumerated the characteristics of essential learning. It is considered as essential learning competency if, first, it is aligned with the national state and or standards frameworks. Second, it connects the content to higher concepts across content areas. Third, it is applicable to real-life situation. Fourth, it would be important for students to acquire the competency after he or she left the particular grade level. And fifth one, it would not be expected that most of students would learn this through their parents or communities if not taught at school. We need to remember this. We have to consider the following when unpacking and combining the most essential learning competencies. First, alignment on the content and performance standards. Second, prerequisite knowledge and skills. Third, logical sequence of learning objectives. Here are the following steps on how to unpack the most essential learning competency. First step, identify identify the target skills and prerequisite skills. Second step, identify the contents and prerequisite contents. The third one, unpacking proper. She mentioned also the table of specification. When we say table of specification, it is all about blueprint for the preparation of an examination. It serves as the map or guide to assigning the appropriate number of items to topics included a course or subject. After the first resource speaker, we proceed to breakout session for learning subject area. For the afternoon session, our resource speaker was Professor Henry C. Incabo of University of Southeastern Philippines. His topic was all about designing contextualized assessment tasks. He discussed all about design framework, thinking through the problem situation, and designing interpretable ordered MCQ options. After the second speaker, Melanie P. Dayaday of Sagay National High School was given the chance to explain the task to be accomplished by the participants, and it followed by the breakout session for learning subject area. That's all about yesterday's activities. Once again, I'm Leah Jane A. Delma of Kapalong National High School. Good day and God bless us all.
Alright, thank you so much. And that was Mom Leah Jane Delma of Kapalong National High School. At this moment of time, Mom Bing, we would like to reiterate again to our commenters here in the StreamYard and to all our platforms. Also, we are also live on YouTube, ma'am. Please do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, DepEd Davnor. So please, once again, if you're using the YouTube platform, please don't forget to subscribe the DepEd Davnor channel. So now, Ma'am Bing, please introduce to us our speaker for this morning.
All right, without much further ado, let us give a big warm of applause to our discussant, our speaker, who will discuss to us about designing assessment rubrics for contextualized assessment tasks. He is the practical manager of University of Southeastern Philippines. At the same time, a teacher certificate for non-education professional and the evening program coordinator. Ladies and gentlemen, none other than Professor Lindy C. Lula.
Courtesy to our DepEd Region 11, headed of course by our Regional Director, Dr. Alan Farnaso, and your team, and also the different SDOs under Region 11, participants, colleagues in the academe, good morning. Okay, so I am tasked this morning to talk about how to analyze assessment data. Okay. Okay. This 5 days ago, so we have this topics. On day 1, we are done with the contextualization or the overview about contextualization. And day 2, Dr. Emmy Cabanlit were able to discuss about how to unpack the MELCs or the most essential learning competencies. Day 3, Dr. Incabo also explained how to design contextualized assessment. And yesterday, Dr. Lulab were able to discuss about how to develop assessment rubrics. Now we are now on day 5, and this is all about analyzing assessment data. So the outline of my presentation would be, number one, why do we assess? The second one is, how is assessment data analyzed? So basically, we're going to talk about these topics. Okay, to start with, now let me ask you, why do we assess?
To um, acknowledge and recognize the leader of this activity, our DepEd Director, Dr. Alan G. Parnaso, and also our Assistant Regional Director, Maria Ines Asuncion, the CLMD Chief, Dr. Mary Jean B. Aldiguer, and of course, my partner in the preparation of this activity and endeavor that we have right now, the training supervisor, Dr. Maria Lisa Berandoy, and of course, in the part of USEP, I'd like to recognize our president, Dr. Henira Lau, and also the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Bonifacio Gabalis, and also the Vice President for Extension and Research, Dr. Shirley Villanueva, and my head in the Division of Extension, Dr. Ruby Pagong, and the activity leader of this activity, Professor Henry Incabo. To the DepEd team who made a lot of efforts in the preparation of this activity, and for the USIP team as well. And for the regional participants, I'd like to greet you a good morning and happy Family Week. September is actually a family week, so I have seen a lot of posting in the Facebook that they are celebrating with their family. Now, we are actually a family here because we are actually working for our family in the whole region and down to the families of every families in every region, in every community, in every places where we are assigned. So today I am tasked to present to you the topic on rubrics. So first, I'd like to share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen now? Can you see my presentation? Sorry. Hello.
Yes po, we can see your presentation po.
Okay. Thank you. All right. I am supposed to ask you some questions. Maybe you can give me some answers of my question. What comes in your mind when we talk about rubrics? Maybe you can input and share in the chat box. For the participants of every classrooms and even in the virtual participants. Okay, I can see that you are giving your answers, scoring guide, criteria of gradings, criteria, scoring tool. All right. You have actually a lot of inputs that you can actually tell as you practice in using rubrics. No? Scoring guide used to evaluate students. All right. So I think, yeah, you are actually on the right inputs of the questions I have given you. Appropriate rating to the answers given by the students. Yeah, appropriate, the word appropriate, nice to read these inputs. It is also assessment tool in a matrix or grid form. What a very nice definition about rubrics. Okay, thank you. It is an assessment tool in matrix or grid form from science, no? Ma'am Pipito. So, yeah, I agree with all of your statement because rubrics, these are some of the common terms that may appear and maybe one of your responses and those about to respond are actually in here. So we can actually see rubrics that it has a lot of associated words, no? Quality, report, it has purposes, work details, it has something to do with the students, and it has about story, a claim, and a lot more that we can see in the slides. So we know that rubrics encompasses a lot of associated terms. And in the earlier part when Australia has actually introduced, and even before, no, we learned that rubric has been being used, but during the time that when Australia came in helping our education, particularly in Mindanao, they have emphasized what we call authentic assessment. And then they have a lot of inputs and use it as part of the training provider, at the same time supporting organization for the implementation, both in the administration and even in the DepEd and in the remote area as well, because we provide services for developing also the madrasa teachers. No, at one time I'm a program coordinator at that time, so we were able to produce these teachers to become professional, and they are now in the position right now. And one of them actually greeted me, Sir Okosan, who is now a master teacher. So I'm very glad and happy that this program came in, and then this particular emphasis of authentic assessment, one of that is rubrics. And another is the authentic assessment is actually for full use. So rubric has a big role in assessing. Now, I would like to take note of the word assessment. In my subject in assessment, my student used to give different answers, no? And then they would say that assessment is synonymous with evaluation. Assessment is synonymous with test. And then when we go over in the pure definitions of this, sometimes they would use the word real picture or real gathering of data. So to make it simpler, I told them assessment. The word assess is derived from the word gathering data, and not only data but learning data of students, so that the students can be able to showcase what they actually learn. No, because there are, when we go with the traditional way of getting the picture of what they learn in a paper pencil test, sometimes we have some limitations, no, of getting the real learning of the student. Hence, these rubrics, portfolios came in, which we considered authentic, so that we can be able to gather the data, no, as an evidence of the students' learning. And that is what we would like to get as a feedback to both to us in our way of teaching, feedback also to the students' performance, and also feedback to the top management. And I understand that in DepEd, you have this particular component of the rating of your assessment with your students. So particularly in the performance part, because rubric has a big role, no, in working with teachers to be able to get the real learning of the students in the performance. So in the first part of our, at the start with our of our seminar, Sir Gabalis has inputted a lot of insights, because we would like that our learning of the student should be manifested realistically. That is why we would like to come up with authentic picture of what they actually learn. And so we also would like to support the move of the region, that because of pandemic right now, are we having questions whether the responses of our students are actually real? What are in their module are actually real? Are the students are actually the one working on it? Because they are actually, they are actually working in a remote places or remote homes, wherein the teachers right now or support are the parents. So it's good that we are learning this one, so that eventually we can be able to design what could be the best tool, no, that can be able to help us teachers to gather the learning data. I have a student who is working with her thesis. At the start, before the pandemic, he was working with a lot of quantitative type of directions of the statistical uh, output of her research. But because of pandemic, we would like to know what happened now with the assessment practices, with the planning practices of the teachers, and also with the reporting of the performance of the students. So that was her particular research right now, going from quantitative into qualitative. So this is how pandemic have changed the kind of our activity, and also our practice, even in our delivery and researches in with our students right now. So with this, let me proceed to the next. The presentation outline of my topic right now will cover 8 items, but there are a lot of specific samples of this, but we will be working more on to justify my assignment on coming up with some rubrics, sample rubrics. So we will be working along the process of these topics we have, that each rooms and the participants will work, and connect with the internet, so that we'll be using the technology aided support in formulating rubric, so that it will not be difficult for you, on how to formulate rubric, because the challenging thing here in making rubric is actually developing the descriptive statement. So there are 8 points I'd like to emphasize in my presentation outline. Now, we know that at this time, there is a gap that is happening, and we envision our learner that, like in this picture right now, we can see in the picture that there's a word learn, and there's a word lead, and there's also a word earn. No, so in the other picture we can see here the word learn and the earn from a different location, and there's a gap in between. So this is where our role as a teacher to help connect or to provide a ladder that the student can actually jump to the other side so that he can earn the degree and equip himself to realize his potential to become a leader of what he learned and what he earned so that he can be able to lead. And to me, being in the academy for a long time, I know that some of you were actually my students, and I'm very, very grateful that that the Lord has given me my life and I am part of the academy, that I was able to witness some of my students, just like Halasan, uh, uh, other principals right now who are actually were former student, and some of those who are leading in the city, under this undersecretary, and others are actually in the position right now. So to me, it makes me fulfilled that somehow I became part of their lives that made them lead at this time of their lives. So if you can see in the picture at the top of this learner who are actually leaping from what he learns so that he can jump to the other side to earn. Now there are a lot that he has to learn, that he has to gain in himself. So this is where our role as a teacher that will produce our future learner to become a leader in our nation, our community, and becoming a person of recognized status, and also to provide them life, because of their education. So I am showing this one because I'd like to uh, give us a picture that indeed we need to do something so that they will be able to materialize their holistic potential. Now, if we talk of assessment in our traditional practice, we have a lot. And there are 2 terms of the example of assessment. Performative, which is the throughput or throughout. We have some example here. We have rubrics, class discussion, checklists, questionnaires, journals, progress notes, self-evaluation, observation, conferences, interviews, peer self-evaluation. These are some of an example of authentic material of gathering the data of the learning of the students. And for the summative, usually it is at the end. We also use rubrics. We also use written tests. We use creative assignments. We use presentations. We use portfolios and also written reports, project products, practical examinations, and peer self-evaluation. We involve our students to become judges of their own outputs. And of course, I'd like to connect that one that in the formative term of in the assessment, it helps students to learn and practice. So there are questions of when, why, and how. So on the questions of when, it should be throughout the course. When we do formative, prior to the final stage of a semester, and even in the end of their program or in the course. As to the why, we identify gaps and improve their learning. We know that we have different types of learners. Therefore, we have a lot of things to identify as a gaps and improve their learning so that they can be at pace with the others. And we know that we consider what we call differential differences. The nature of the learner has actually unique, and they are of different nature. That is why in some of our practice in schools, we have special education, we have early childhood education, we have education for the arts and for physical education. And right now with the K to 12, we know that we are now aligning the ability and the skills of the student as we diagnose them through assessment again as to their potential of where they can be able to do their performance best. So from junior towards senior and even towards in college. So also in our teacher education institution, we support the same. That's why we identify our learner according to their strands, and that is where we are now leading. For summative assessment, for the when, we can actually see that it is actually at the end of instructional period. Summative is synonymous with working with the final output of the students, wherein we will make judgment, because evaluation is making judgment whether our student has to proceed to the next level, or they will be retained, or they are to be given intervention so that they can be able to be promoted. So as to the why, we have to collect evidences of student knowledge, the skills or proficiency. And as to the how, it can be via exit learning products or a cumulative assessment. So we know that there are a lot of that, and we know that our students are actually of different natures and different abilities, different body physical features, and they are coming from different communities, and they are coming from also different income groups. So in our social structure, we know that we are categorized, economically as A, B, C, D. That is how we are categorized according to our economic status. And therefore, there are a lot of differences among students, and we call them as an important, we actually recognize them as a gap. So in the earlier presenters, we actually know that we learned from our speakers that we talk, especially Sir Henry and Cabo, that we talk about equity. We talk about inclusivity. We talk about ways that we can be able to help and support our learners. So I'm showing you this picture to differentiate equality with equity. Now, most often in our practice, we do in this first picture. Look at the picture. There is a tall boy, and then next is a girl, a little bit smaller than him, and then there's another one of different color, a boy. And they are actually being treated with the same teaching. So you can see the difference, and the two has actually a diploma while the other one did not receive a diploma. Now, this is not the kind what we would like to happen. That's why we are coming up with this particular intervention. I would say it in a simpler word, or our seminar workshop, so that as a teacher, we can recognize how we can live, how we can make them in an equal footing. So we provided them support and capacity, because I believe our learner, despite that they are unique, they can be of the same equal opportunity for their success. So you can see now that the third boy here, the third child, are also already receiving the same diploma. For what reason? Because we provide them support. Look at the first picture here. The first boy, he has only 2 books, but the second, they are now of the same height, has 4 books, and the third one. So teachers now are providing a lot of capacitating, to be able to make him at level, And we know for a fact that this is what is supposed to be our rule, no, to put equity, no, so that we can be able to help our learner and we can achieve the goal of UNESCO, which is education for all. And also DepEd emphasis that no child left behind. And we have a lot of programs that we are actually doing to support our learners, that we will not leave our students behind. Can you imagine a picture of a classroom? At one time, I had experience, no, when I became an OIC in our evening program. Now I was surprised, that one teacher submitted a grade, and I know for a fact that this student that he is handling are actually the selected one because they were engineering. And to my surprise, I saw in his report that there are only 3 out of 50 students who passed. So that's already questionable among us educators, because if we are already having a failing of 1/4 of our students, we are already alarmed. And usually we will be asked, what have you done as a teacher in the duration of 1 semester? What intervention have you made so that the student should not be left behind? And already to me, that is an interpretation of giving false hope to the student. And we know that the student is a potential. When we selected them, they are already potential. When I was in Australia, that is what they are doing, in their program. So we were treated at the start that they are providing academic support, especially if they know that in Asia, among the students who enter there are having difficulty in English. So they have what we call English bridge program. Another, they also provided a program for multicultural program in order to level up, to put all of the accepted students to be of the equal level, equal footing of level, so that they can start with their academic equally, that they will not be having difficulty of adjustment. So I think this is our big role, Ma'am and Sir, in DepEd, and we know that DepEd has a big heart. That's why we are doing our best, with a lot of memo, department order, to be able to support and reach out even those who are at Parplang area. So I am showing this because we want to have to be fair. No, I have here a statement that I captured. Fair isn't everybody getting the same thing. That is what the first picture was showing, no? But fair is everybody getting what they need in order to be successful. Now, we do not educate our students that they will end to their to a particular level, that they were not able to realize their full potential. And we say that holistic. That's why in our objective, we have cognitive, affective, psychomotor, because we wanted the holistic development of our learners. We want them to have an equal opportunity, that they can realize their full potentials. Okay? And I have another picture here that I'd like to show to you, that here we can see that the student success is actually complemented by different factors, no? So the faculty in the student success, we need to consider equity, diversity, and inclusion. And here now the faculty and the students interactions within this core circle. Now, outside with this, we can see the learning for teaching, inquiry of student learning, acting on insight, transfer of knowledge, which are the activities or the intervention that the teacher will do during the implementations of the curriculum. No? Deep learning, learning how to learn. Take note of this, because what you let us try to check whether our students are learning in their way of learning, or in the way that they are accustomed to learn. But here is learning how to learn. We have to teach them that they should know how to learn. And then of course there's deep teaching, and then learning for teaching. At the outer part of the picture, we can say here We can see here that there are engaged teaching hub. These are all support for the students, both teachers and students. Education research and assessment hub, digital learning hub, experiential learning hub, the writing hub, academic achievement hub. Okay, so this picture is showing that all of the effort are again focused towards student success. So in the, having all of this mind, part of that of our strategy is to be able to gather the real learning of the students. So we will now go to the topic that we are to discuss right now. What you need to know to use rubrics for data collection, and what data collection, or what collection that we want to get, what data. So to me, as I said, assessment is gathering the learning data of the student. We want to know the real learning data of the students. So we provided them opportunity. No, I was at one time a panel of SPED masteral student, and her concern is focused on the blind. And I just learned that there are level of blindness. So she is actually proposing a particular intervention of what she can work on, that this student of different level of being blind can be able to learn along the way. And I also encountered a student in USEP one time. He is a well-traveled student, but he is blind, and he was with his sister, and they took the UCPAT examination. And to my surprise, his result is better than his sister, who is complete, no, and even better than the others, no. And I was just wondering, how can he be able to be recon with the time of his schedule? Because I try to imagine myself, if I don't have eyes to see, I cannot see I cannot recognize whether it's already morning, whether it's already evening, because everything to me, if I am to imagine it, I cannot identify whether it's already his time for his math, for science subjects, for PE subjects. But I was amused, and I was impressed to that student. So that gives me the idea that even if you are blind, even if you have some limitations, but your brain can even be superior as compared to others. And we can relate to that story of Helen Keller, right? Helen Keller was used to be, a problematic student, no, but there was a good teacher that makes her give the connection of what are the words that she used to that she needs to learn, so that she can interact to the world. And right now, Helen Keller, based on our story of with our students, no, become an inspiration to those who are having difficulties, or student with special needs. So my dear teachers in the division, if we want the full development of our students, we need to provide the best support that we can do, so that we can be able to make them realize their potentials. No, so I know that it is the right of individual to be educated. So in our teaching, I realize also, being a practicum supervisor, that our students are really good in delivering in their teaching. But during the final demo, I wonder that they have some difficulties in coming up with the congruency with their objectives. No, objectives. For example, they would say demonstrate, and then at the end, makita na ako dito sa ilahang assessment, there was no demonstration of assessment. And the funny thing that I one time commented, I told them, you already have assessment 1 and assessment 2. How come you have problems with developing your rubrics? Because what I can see in the rubrics, kita na ko dito na ay mga criteria that says, for example, the class is cooking, and then the criteria one of the criterion there, what was reflected is audience impact. So I wonder how come there was an audience impact in one of the criteria. So I told him, doing a particular format, no? Okay, so that is an impact. That is one thing that I'd like to share to you, my dear teachers. It's because we need to be consistent in when we use rubric. The same, we should be consistent with the kind of objectives we have. So with our MELs right now, we are also being guided, no, but we are putting emphasis on the equity. We are putting emphasis on the contextualization. No, in order for us to put that little boy to be in the equal footing among the others. Okay, so here we go. Please journey with me. I know that you know already what is a rubric, but let us just have a review of it. So, what is a rubric? And I agree with your inputs a while ago. It is a systematic scoring guidelines to evaluate students' performance. It could be paper, speeches, problem solutions, portfolios, and cases through the use of a detailed description of performance level. Take note of the word detailed description. Moreover, it is used to get consistent scores across all students. Take note of the word consistent scores, no, across all students. And thirdly, we have a statement that it allows students to be more aware of the expectations for performance and consequently improve their performance. So in this last statement, sentence, it reminds me of my situation when I was in Australia. At the start of the class, we have one orientation meeting with our professor. And then after that, our materials are all compiled with several readings, no? But we were given one score sheets, no? And in that compilations of references, first that I can see at the top is actually the holistic rubric, and that is where we will be rated. So to me, I was a little bit worried because in the holistic rubric, a lot of things I need to work on. Although it seems that we are relaxed, but knowing about that rubrics and doing your effort according to that holistic rubric is something like, to me, I am bothered and worried if I can be able to make it according to the given time element. Yeah, can you imagine you enroll one subject with units of 10 units? So if you fail one subject, so you fail the 10 units. So I actually enrolled 4 subjects for the whole semester, so that comprises already 40 units. So that is their way of rating. And then the way they will rate us is actually descriptive. No, descriptive siya. Letter grade. No, and it can be also expressed in descriptive words. No, for example, the highest grade that they can give is actually high D, or it's D, or high D. So it's D refers to high distinction, and then will follow D, or distinction, and then will follow the next lower than that distinction is the third one is morag is just like passing, no, and it's really, it's really something for me that I am worried and bothered, because as a scholar you need to really do your best so that you can be able to have a better grade. But the best that I did is just do what I can do best, and their assessment is all the output that you can do is based on your readings and put them into an essay performances. So that's it. That is an example I'd like to relate to you. Now the question is, why do we use rubrics? What do you think? Okay. Now, here is the emphasis here. A rubric is a flexible tool that can be used to measure student learning related specifically to a department's objectives. So it is aligned to the standard of the department. Because rubrics provide descriptions of its course level, it is easier for different faculty to use a rubric to grade consistently across students. It's true. It is easy for us to score our students' performance if we have rubric already ready. So part of the planning of your lessons, you prepare for your assessment tasks with a rubric, so that when you have an activity, for example, you will let the students perform. Uh, they will illustrate their performance with a brochure or an output through a brochure. Then you can prepare already a rubric to uh, to score a particular output product of the student, which is a brochure. A brochure in math, brochure in science, brochure in English. So like that, as an example of an student output performance. Okay. Now I'm showing you here a cycle, with regards to as an example of a rubric, no. So, for example, your task, your activity is an oral communication rubric. So you can see here the criteria body, and then the points assigned, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest. And then the description of that, we have exemplary, accomplished, acceptable, needs improvement, and for 1 point is beginning. And then the description. Now you can see with the arrow, you can now do to decide what students should demonstrate. And then number 2, develop markers of quality. Number 3, reinforce a developmental scale. And then 4, assign a numerical grade. So with this, it will be easy for us teachers to rate our students if we have prepared this material, and following the cycle with our decision. When you decide in doing that, giving judgment to the students' output. In this example for oral communication rubric. So by the way, the description you can see here, this is simple, simple rubric, that you can actually use. But to me, this is already utilizing some of the parts of the rubric. For example, for the 5 points, which is exemplary, movement seems fluid and help the audience visualize. Okay. While on the number 1, you can see here, you can read here, no movement or descriptive gestures. So if you want our students to perform better, at the start of our class here in USEP, I oriented my student regards to how they will be scored according to their criteria and their performance. So I asked them, what grade do you want? Because I'm gonna give you the grade you want, and they will say 5, sir. If that is 5, then observe that one in your performance when you do the actual thing of the activity. All right. Moving on, rubrics has characteristics. For assessment purposes, we usually want to develop a rubric that the purpose is to allow us to directly evaluate performance on program level, student learning outcomes. Another is it is a general enough that it can be used for different assignments. For example, papers may be collected from different courses or faculty. And also one of the for assessment purposes of its characteristics is understood and agreed upon by among faculty who will be using the rubric. For example, you are of the same grade level and you are teaching the same subject, so maybe you can agree together to come up with a common material or assessment material or a rubric, so that you will be consistent, and you can also be of you can follow also what are the standard that a particular department or in a school are actually emphasizing, in your objectives or the goal in the curriculum. Okay, here comes now the steps of how to develop a rubric. Of course, you have to clearly define the assignment. Now, in defining the assignment, you need to remember what is the student expected to produce. What are the common expectations across instructors? For step 2, in developing a rubric, we need to consider what students' learning outcomes will be assessed. in our practice in USEP, in our learning plan, in our syllabus, it's already there. They can already see, what learning outcomes or LO, or another is learning evidence that they are to perform and they are to do. So they are guided what they are to be rated later on. And there is an assessment measure. There's a rubric for each learning evidences. No, so all of the expected that the student should work on. Now, Sir Henry is our quality management director. So during our ISO, at one time I was actually put on the spot. No, I was the one being questioned by the auditor. So it's different with my experience working with our accreditation for the information of everyone in the College of Education. We are already in level 4 for our undergrad and level 3 for the graduate school. So they were asking of evidences from our syllabus, from the curriculum, going to the syllabus, and then in the syllabus, looking at the evidences of our grading system and looking at to the details of the performance of the students. So with that, we are actually, at that time with my experience, I was like bloating, with all of butterflies in my stomach because of the questions of the auditor. It happens that the auditor is a science engineering, and she also had um, an earning units in education and in LaSalle. So I had difficulty of providing because at that time, it was timely also that the audit happens when the result of our teachers board came out, and we have some top-notch shares and enough numbers of passers. So that was her interest, and she actually had a random of selecting a particular group of students and asked me what are my preparations, our preparations before deployment of our students. So all of that, and she was asking all the details of everything. So we are trying to make ourselves prepared so that we can be able to respond of the external auditors and even our stakeholders. What are we doing in our practice so that we can claim that indeed we are working as a recognized center of excellence. College of Education is a center of excellence of education in the region. So with these experiences I had, it makes me think further of how to do a better way of keeping our assessment tools. So we strategize it that if we are common preparation, we have to prepare all of that. And here comes now also another audit with regards to our curriculum, which is the COPC. Now another is for step 2, we have, for example, for a senior seminar paper, outcomes related to writing and critical thinking may be assessed, as well as in more discipline specific outcomes. By the way, the material here that I'm sharing to you is actually in focus with the English, step in developing a rubric. So number 3 is step 3 is determine the key criteria that you are interested in. For example, for the senior seminar paper, what aspects of writing will be assessed? So therefore, you have these particular specifics. You have coherence, organization, mechanics that can be entered in your rubric grid. And for step 4 and developing rubric, clearly define those key criteria. What do you mean by organization? Because it could be a different organization for other discipline, or what particular organization you would like to for the student to showcase in the writing. And then another is, what does organized writing look like? So this could be some example, in defining the criteria to be clear. And step 5 in developing rubric, establish clear and detailed descriptors for each performance level, for each criteria. So some of the example here is that you have to determine what the different levels of performance look like within each criteria, and use sample papers of high, mid, and low performers to help. It is also usually easy to begin by describing the highest level of performance, and lastly, using specific language for the descriptors of performance level increases the chances that multiple faculty members will apply the rubric in a similar manner. Now, step 6 in developing a rubric is try out the rubric on a few students. Do not use that immediately, but you have to try out first, no, with several raters to see if the rubric works and get consistent scoring from multiple raters. Tama man po, tama naman din ito kasi maaring magkaiba-iba ang pagka-interpret ng mga raters according to what you expected that they will rate, no, the performance of students. So you have to try it out. And then those are the steps of creating rubrics. Now let us try to understand whether a rubric can be categorized as a scale or it can be a rubrics. So this is an illustration here. If it is just a scale or a rubric, so what can you say about this presentation here? No, citation is referring to the criteria here, no, and then there are activity 3, no, categorization or scale, no, below expectations, expectation, exceed expectations, in a descriptive form. And then a sample of a citation here that a particular student got is missed expectation. So is this a scale or a rubric? So I leave that to you. Because to continue, what's the difference between the other one? This is just merely giving the emphasis of the levels, no, of the of one particular citations, but in the other one we can see that there's already a description under each of the levels. Okay, so this is a little bit better than the other ones. Is this still a scale or a rubrics? So I leave that to you. Maybe you can work initially. For example, in my earlier years of my teaching, encountering this one, so I made like this one, no, wherein in the first column in the criteria, I put introduction, method, para ito ang madali nating magawa kaagad, no? Gawa tayo ng criteria kaagad, but we don't put the description. In this example here, we can see the description is now aligned in the column of the introduction, no, in your criteria. And then in the second column, you can see here the difference of the what we call scaling, no, in a descriptive form, wherein the actual scoring are actually put at the center, no, being 1 under 4, 2 marginal. You think this is a better rubric? What do you think? To me, it is a repeated numbers in the grid. So I for an initial assessment scale, this is a scale, no, for putting all the figures in the in between of the scales of the criteria and also of the level of the scaling. So well, we can accept if it is a first time for us to do this, but I don't think this is a very good a rubric, no? So to improve that one, this can be a better one because a rubric has all of these pictures. It has the criteria here, wherein there is a background, which is the main criterion, and method under it has also a specific what background do you want as emphasized in the steps of creating a rubric, no, and then in the methodology and then the results. So there are 2 or 3 sub items in the criteria, main items, and then under each there are specific items. Now here along with the criteria row, you can see here that there's already a description of the scale and there's a number figure, so to represent that particular scoring, no. And then at the last column, you can see here the actual score, wherein we as raters, we can be able to see as to the extent of the performance of the students according to the description. So based on the description at the center, from each of the column and row, we can see that this is a very good improved rubric. And we can easily rate our learners according to how they perform, wherein their performance actually falls under acceptable or good or superior. So for us, it would be easy to rate our students by just checking this portion here and then add the score here at the and put the score at the side and then get the total at the bottom. So this is an improved example of a rubric. Now in using rubric, in using the rubric, we need also to be guided. So if you are of a team or you are of the same department or you are teaching of the same grade level, the same subject, we need to train our evaluators, by being familiar what to rate and how to rate or how to use the rubric. And then we need to have some sample work that should be scored. And then discuss scores and reach agreement among each other. And then more than on an evaluator should score papers. And then if two evaluators disagree, a third decides. And then frequent disagreement on an item indicates that the item needs to be revised or removed. So this is a factual scenario of how to use the rubrics and how to make your rubrics be retained of each item, but to improve. Particularly take note of the last statement, frequent disagreement on an item. This would indicate that the item needs to be revised or removed. Okay, now to put practice, you have to select a rubric that is currently being used in your department. So do you have a rubric that you are in your hand right now? I'm asking each one of you. If you do have, try to check mentally if you have that available in your hand right now. Try to check whether that is considered as a rubric or a scale. So you answer this question to yourself, if you have that in your hand. Are there multiple descriptions of the criteria, at least 3? Are the descriptions clear and easy to use? Will other faculty agree on the descriptors? Now, if you answer all of these with yes, therefore, maybe you are actually doing or using or coming up with a rubric that is coming up with a real rubric. Okay, for practice, you can rewrite a selected rubric to ensure it has multiple descriptors or the criteria, and it's not just a scale. You can have other descriptors and rating that can agreed upon by other faculty. So if this is having a common agreement for everyone, supposed to be yours to do this with among all of you, but I'm just relaying it because it is just a review for all of us, because we are familiar already with the rubrics. Now, where to start if you want to develop a rubric? We will be developing a rubric from scratch that can be challenging. Do you think you can develop a rubric easily at this time? And how many hours it would take for you to develop a rubric? For a scale, marag dali ra, ma'am, sir, parang madali lang. Pero if you want to have this description included, this will be a challenge. And doing this would be taking so much of our time. So we need to get ideas by looking at what others have done. It can be our strategies, or lots of sample rubrics for many disciplines. Now we have here the blue strike line here can be our resources. By the way, in the internet there are many, but for our purpose of developing our own rubric, we can probably use we will use the Rubistar on the third one. Online tool for developing rubric with more samples One example here is the Ruby Star for teachers. We can also have an online module for using the rubric. Take note of this. I will share this to you later on, because we will be working with a sample rubric that will be working with your particular area of subjects that you think in the performance level, in the criteria of grading, you need this. I believe you already have that. But let us try to have a practice so that if ever you have some activity, in the formative part of your activity, or maybe in the module that you'd like to incorporate in the future, then you can develop your own that is authentic, and you consider this real to get the picture of how the student actually learn. So we will go back to that later on. But allow me to continue that rubrics has actually two types. One is analytic and another is holistic. So from the word itself, the other one is analytic and the other one is holistic. So we can already have in our mind how it looks. But for the sake of understanding it deeply or further, I have shown you an example of holistic and analytic with some of its pictures. A holistic rubric is a single grading scale that all criteria considered in evaluation is included together. No more, it is just like a summative type of rubric that all of what you want to get as a data are already in there, and you will just use only one sheets to rate the student performance as a whole. Another features of that, rater assigned a single score. For example, AP examination, and then also doesn't provide a granular targeted feedback on student performance. Take note of the word granular or the specific. While the analytic, it has a multi-component grading scale. It describes its evaluation criteria separately. So it would require you a lot of separate papers so that you can rate one activity from the other and one performance of a particular requirement among the others. And the raters assign a score for each component along with overall scores, total or weighted, and provides more granular targeted feedback and more time consuming to create. It's true. Take note of that last statement. For example of that, we have here a picture, although it's blurred in your view, even to me, but you can see here as it appears that in table 1, template for holistic rubric. Look at the scoring, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0, and then here are now the descriptors. While on table 2, which is an analytic, you can see the criteria which are shaded with encircled with green, and then you can see the descriptions at the center that it actually varies from each level from 1 going to 4. So looking at this scenario, it appears that the analytic is a little bit getting all of the picture, while the holistic, while the analytic has a lot of details. So this is now the explanation about analytic rubrics. I will just run through it because I actually explained with a picture a while ago, but for the sake of discussion, so here we can see some valid points of the explanation of analytic rubric. So we have here an example of analytic rubric as additional. For example, with food as our main subject to be scored. So we have here the chips, the textures, the color, and richness. Now, as to the how we taste it, or the way we take it, so we have here delicious, tasty, edible, not yet edible. Most often we will just say, it's delicious. Pero as to the extent of delicious, we need to know how delicious it is. No, so here we have to put here the scale. No, the scale. Now I have a joke with my student when I told them, can you judge a girl or your classmate? Look at your classmate at your side. How can you judge her according to the level of her beauty? If your criteria is beauty, so they would just say, "Oh, beautiful." But to me, I said, you have if you apply the rubric in our subject in assessment, how do you quantify her being a beautiful woman? So hindi sila makasagot kaagad. So I told them in a manner of joke, I told them, guwapa, guwapa-guwapa, guwapita. Kanya ang last, if you do not agree with that, impacta. So they were all laughing to me because I am making an example in our contextual situation, no, looking at her partner or her classmates, no, as to the category of beauty, no. So, but what my emphasis there is that at least you can categorize or you can put a label as to the category, because although we know that we are created by God and we are all made in the image of God and we are beautiful, but you have to quantify, no, as to if that is your scoring. So in similar manner in this food here, no, when it comes to its texture, its so this makes a meaningful quantification of how a particular chips, no, that you are testing, whether it is of the level of delicious or tasty or edible or not yet edible. So when your student produce a particular chips in their cooking class, so you can already make use of a particular sample of this, no? So that's one example of analytic. So the advantage of analytic and rubrics, I put here that the advantages of analytic, it provides useful feedback on areas of strength and weaknesses. Criterion can be weighted to reflect the relative importance of each dimension. On the other disadvantage of analytic rubric, it takes more time to create and use than a holistic rubric. And this is our challenge, my dear teachers, no, that it has a lot of challenge in our part actually, because writing a description is not easy. No, the level of the extent of, just like for my example, is beauty. So how do you put the second level of beauty? Beautiful, more beautiful, and most beautiful. So what I'm saying to you is that we need to be very clear with the particular descriptions. No, in analytic rubric, we have to provide all of this. No, and the last one is, unless its form for its criterion is well defined, raters may not arrive at the same score. So that is the disadvantage of analytic rubric. Now, another type of rubric is holistic. So this is the definition of a holistic rubric, no, with 2 bullet points. And rubric consists of a single scale with all criteria. And I have shared that to you earlier, an example of that. So this is an example of a holistic. Look at this one. So you need to really read which one that belongs to above average, which one that belongs to sufficient, which one that belongs or under the category of developing, and which of the performance of the written communication for a final paper that needs improvement. So this is really challenging on the part of the students, because if they wanted to be in the above average level, you need to really satisfy that the audience is able to easily identify the focus of the work and is engaged by its clear focus. But this is fair for the students at the start, that this is what they would like to have a grade. Therefore, they have to do, they have to satisfy or meet the standards according to this description. And this is an example of a holistic rubric. Another example is here, no? The third example, template for holistic rubric. So we have the score 0 to 5, and then the descriptions. for each according to Mittler 2001. What are the advantages and disadvantages of holistic rubric? Okay, the emphasis for the advantages is that the learner is able to demonstrate rather than what he cannot do. And this is very good, no? Because it provides opportunity for learner that they can really work on up to the point that can reach that particular description. And it saves times by minimizing the number of decisions raters make, because you only have scaling of 1 to 5, and then provide all the descriptions in their extent of how the students will showcase or manifest their performance. And then for the third, can be applied consistently by trained raters, increasing reliability. While on the disadvantage side of holistic rubrics, it does not provide specific feedback for improvement. When student work is at varying levels spanning the criteria points, it can be difficult to select the single best description, and criteria cannot be weighted. Okay, that is according to the references I've gotten. All right, in our lectures series right now, since the start with Sir Gabales and until now, we emphasize contextual learning on the part of the students. On also in the part of the teachers in the preparations of assessment material. So I'm showing you an example here of a contextual learning, no? So there is what we call words that you can see here with an arrow. So if you have a goal, if the contextual task is at the center, and then at the outer part here are the results that the task that the student has to perform. So therefore, it has to be aligned in accordance to the cycle of the goal in its rule and the audience and the situations where the contextual should be considered, and then that type of products that they should produce, or the performance purposes, and then the standard criteria for success, and then it will go back to the goal. Now, yesterday, I witnessed the presentations of our group from different rooms, no, and the different groupings of specialization. I'm happy that with the material that the task given to each one of you, you were able to supply, some of the contextualization requirement, the equity requirement, and I believe that more practice and more of working with it, we will be able to realize this one, so that at the end, the bottom line of all of this, our learners will be able to relate, and they will be able to perform better in their performance. And also in the assessment as a form of feedback, we will be consistent that our students are doing the best that they will be able to master their performance according to the criteria. Okay, on the basis of contextualization as well, just to put emphasis of what Sir Henry has deepened already, so we can see a picture here, and in the community, context of teaching and learning. So we have here the political agendas, what are now happening that we can actually include in doing the contextualization, stereo political or teacher figure, the gender, yeah, we consider that one, that because there is already a policy that we have to be inclusive and we have to be gender sensitive in our policies. And then another is the stereotypical expectations of schools, and then the religious scenario of the community. You need to be very sensitive with this, because we don't want to offend others. So we need to make use of an examples of our in the contextualized emphasis that our learner of a particular group of religious group will be able to relate as to the kind of examples they have. And then of course the family structure, and of course the structure of the society. Kasi magkaiba-iba ang ating society, no? Sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, because of a geographical location. For example, Zamboanga, they speak Chabacano, and they also have different kinds of all of this component, no, of contextualizing in their way of teaching and learning. So in our preparations of assessment, we need to consider all of this as well. Okay, so I'd like to compare as an emphasis because we would like to introduce PISA. Now, I'd like to capture some of the presentation of Sir Henry and mine as well as to the type of PISA of rubric. Now, we learned a while ago as to the kind of traditional type or the usual practice we had with rubrics, holistic and analytic. So what is now how it looks in the PISA type of rubric? Okay, if it may appear to you not really that big, please pardon me, but here I'd like to show you an example. No, keep it hot rubric. No, by example in a foreign school. No, so this is Connecticut Academic Performance Test or CAP. So in Connecticut Academic Performance Test, they are coming up with open-ended items. No, see the open-ended items. They emphasizes it that the rubrics right now is not anymore of the same like the tradition that we used to do. So open-ended items are those for which a student must write a short response to a question. Included in this packet are the four open-ended experimentation items which happened on the written test as a follow-up assessment for the hands-on performance task. In addition, one open-ended item designed to assess conceptual understanding and application of knowledge is included. Open-ended items are scored on a 4-point scale from 0 to 3 using a holistic scoring method. This involves judging the overall quality of the student response. The general scoring rubric for the science open-ended items describe the characteristics of a response at each score point. Now, keep in mind that the scoring criteria are based on reasonable expectations of grade 10 students as for this example. Responding under testing conditions, students are given approximately 5 minutes to respond to each open-ended items. The responses are therefore less polished than they might be if students were given more time to revise their answers. In addition, students are asked to respond to a wide variety of scientific topics, many of which they may not have studied for some time. All of this is taken into consideration when scoring the responses. Now, I'd like to point out the words that Sir Henry that he keep on mentioning. Now, in the PISA, it is very clear that the emphasis is that it is knowledge in use. No, we would like our students to be having knowledge in use. And I'd like to capture that video that he showed to you, to us, with regards to the students, no, trying to do some activities on working with the small house, no, the small house. So it is like a similitude of the real situation that they are going to, that they will be encountering. So early as that age level, they are already learning of the essential of the requirement of coming up with a small house. And another example is about the about class that he showed in a video. I'd like to capture that one. I'd like to bring you that to your memory, that the students are assuming they are in the gym, but they are assuming of a particular role, wherein they are like a plane pilot and the other are taking the rule, and then they are using some of the gadgets to do some measurement in mathematics to simulate the situation of the event that will happen. But they are all indoor. No, they are all indoor. However, you can do that also outdoor if you wanted to. No, so taking that rule, we are bringing them the simulating the reality of the event that they will be taking in the real life situations of the event. If they will become a pilot, they will become a builder of building. So early as of that age are already practiced, and I think that's the concept which is emphasized by one of our pillar educator, no, learning by doing, no, by Piaget. I am a fan of Piaget because I would like the students to really experience. No, experiential learning is also supported by another educator, no, by Kolb, that we have to bring the real experience, no, the contextual experience, and with that statement, it makes us, no, to also make our learners to be up in a top level according with regard to the globe education, no, or global education. So right now our senior high school are already at the same level with the other countries because we are already implementing the senior high school years. So our student, we can see in the posted in the Facebook that some of our students qualifies for scholarship in different prestigious institution in US and other places in Canada and even in New Zealand. So what I'm saying is that we are already at the same level, and in our practice here, we may not have that kind. I remember one of the participants asked a question regarding contextualization. If we will, what if we don't have all of this material? How can we contextualize this one? How can we put that in a contextualized situation? So Sir Henry was able to answer it that we have raw materials around that they can still understand the principle of geometry, algebra, no, mathematics, if they have that one, no. So they can still learn the principle despite of the absence of these high-tech materials that they are asking for, no. And an example, that's contextualization. One of the example I have mentioned to my student when we do demo teaching and then they will prepare for the lesson plan, I told them if you are assigned to a Parplang area and they don't have anything in your example in the material is actually using airplane, using high-tech materials, computers, what will you do for you to teach mathematics in elementary grade? What do they have available in their places? So yeah, you can actually use stones, no, to do mathematics. Gather that 10 stones and then do the mathematics of of uh, plus, minus, addition, and subtraction. So that will still work, no. And of course, provide them the direction properly, and they can relate so much of that, no, than using the airplanes, no. So as an example of or Apple, for example, what was emphasized by Sir Henry in his PowerPoint. Instead of they don't have Apple there, so they can use ATIS. They can use what are existing there as an example, no. So the same like manner with the other discipline. So I believe the word global can be now considered local. No, we can use the word glo, global in practice, but localized with our materials that we use. Still, the same learning principles has actually taken place. So our practice of our teachers right now are already local. They are of global competence. You don't need to go to Australia and America to be able to become global, but you can actually do the same practice by making it globally in our practice, but using the indigenous materials around. So that's an example of contextualization. So going back to this, so how is PISA now appeared in our our assessment in holistic and analytic. So here we can see here the description. So you can see here in rating them, item 1, item 2, item 3, and item 4 based on the CAP framework. Okay, I'll just show you the picture, no? Another, for the math problem solving, you can see here number of scales. There are 3. Yeah, 3 actually. 0, 1, scale 1, 2, and 3. Being in a scale 1, understanding the problem. Scale 2, planning a solution. Scale 3, getting an answer. Now in each scale, there are actually 0 to 2, no? 0 to 2, wherein 0 is having a particular description, and 1 in every scale. So you can already encircle each where the students are performing here according to their performance. No, so this is on the math problem solving example. Another is scoring rubric for open-ended items. Still with the CAP framework. You can see here each course category contains a range of student responses which reflect the description given below. No, score 3. The response of the student is an excellent answer to the question. It is correct, it is complete, it and appropriate, and contains elaboration, extension, and or evidence of higher order thinking and relevant prior knowledge. There is no evidence of misconception. Minor errors will not necessarily lower the score. So this is on the score 3. Now, there are only 4 scoring and 0 being the lowest. So with the description here, you can already score the students. And this is how the CAP are actually practicing in relation to the rubric, in comparison to the rubric that we traditionally used to. Another example, as compared with the traditional rubric that we have, is about the 3 points response. No, this is generic rubric, no, for mathematics still, wherein 3 point response and the description, and 2 point response of the students, and then 1 point response and 0 point response. Now, the above rubric is used as a guide to develop specific scoring guides or rubrics for each of the extended constructed response, or ECR questions, because they will be given questions, and then if they will do the answering, then you can rate them with this open-ended, no, with this type of rating, no, and appears in the New Jersey. This is an example in the New Jersey statewide assessment in mathematics. These scoring rubrics provide the criteria for evaluating and scoring student performance, and are developed by a committee of mathematics. So they are actually committee in doing this, no? And the rubrics ensure that there is consistency. Take note of these terms: fairness and accuracy in scoring extended constructed response question. So, hindi nakatingala ang teacher para magbigay ng grado. Meron siyang batayan kung paano niya i-rate ang performance ng bata base sa kanyang sagot. So, ito yung kanilang sample ng rubric, no? And this is a PISA-like type of rubric. So, why our students are not doing well in PISA? It may be because we are not used, our students are not used in this type of way of answering, or at the same time with exposure of this type of rating. No, so but according to Sir Henry, and I'd like to pick that up, na pwede naman magawa din naman talaga, kasi ang talino ay hindi lang nababagay sa mga Amerikano, no? Meron ding mga matatalinong mga Pilipino, pero hindi naman kailangan talino talaga, kasi we know that our student has innate ability. The Lord has given us the brain, no, that we can able to help realize our potential, and it's just a matter of helping our students how they will be able to perform. And I believe in the long run, with the exposures of the PISA as a standard, no, kay mao maning nahimo ng ito naman ang naging parang popular ngayon, and we are being judged according to this, and we are also alarmed, and sometimes we questions whether we are doing well with our performance. So I think we just level ourselves according to how our students will be able to expose to this type of questions, and we teachers also must be the first hand to know this, so that we can also prepare ourselves that when we prepare our item test, it is already in a PISA type format or prepared. Okay, I will be showing you more of the example. This is an example of a holistic scale wherein there are how many criteria? There are 5 criterions, no? 1 and 6 being the highest. No, exemplary response, competent response, minor flaws, serious flaws, begin but fails to complete problem, unable to begin effectively. No, the number of scales is 1 and scale length is 6. So I am just showing you some of the example. No, another here for analytic, we have scale 1, 2, 3. So it's really different, my dear teachers, with the way we used to be exposed with our activity with our traditional one. But we are just working it out that we can be able to adapt somehow, that we can be localized, no, our ability in the preparations of materials. Because one thing I've learned is that we are really good in our delivery. We are very effective and efficient. But as to of our content lessons, but with our preparation as part of our rule of being a teacher in the classroom is assessment. So we need to be very good in our way, competent in our way of our strategy in assessment. And I've learned of a professor, his focus of his expertise is on assessment. So he has this study, the competence of pre-service teachers, in assessment. So with that title, it would mean that he would like to investigate how competent our pre-service teachers before going to the field in the assessment practice. Okay, and also another scenario is that how they are prepared with regards to connecting the theory into practice. That's another scenario. So because theory, they learn all of the theories, they're good at it, but when it comes to the practice of the application of the theory, there is now the problem, no? Sorry. So we need to with a computer-based item in science. So you can see here indoor temperature 23, outdoor temperature 0 Celsius with 0 to 40, with a picture here of the roof color for the paint. And then below here is the outer temperature, the roof color, and then you have to label it here. Okay. For question number 4, as part of this example, no, in the computer base, you can actually have that as an example. You can see here again, the problem is explain the difference in energy consumption by describing what happens to solar radiation when it hits these two different colors of roof. No, what will happen to radiation when the color of roof is red or black or white? No, and yeah, what will happen with the radiation? So this is the an example of the question. Now, the challenge to us, my dear teachers, no, should we pattern our curriculum in assessment to PISA? What do you think? So that we will not be at the bottom, but we will be at par with the other performance of our students in the other countries. So I believe this is a questions that all of us will be answering, and maybe we can actually adjust and adapt so that we can be able to answer our congressman or senators that indeed we are doing something in the region, no, through the leadership of our regional director and assistant director, know that we are doing some interventions that we can be able to prepare our students and our teachers particularly on how we can make that there is something that really working and happening in our preparations. So I have here sources. Now, as I mentioned to you, we are going to work with rubrics. So I have to go back to that. And we will take as an example, no? Although I'm showing to you this one, we will not doing this in a PISA type rubric for now because we are still introducing it to you. But are you familiar with Rubistar? Okay, all of the rooms, you can probably work together. I'll go back to that. To justify our topic right now. Oh, nawala na ko. All right. Okay, please go to Robistar for teachers, HTTP, this one. robistar.forteachers.org/index.php. All right. So this is what will appear to you. Now there are a lot of website that can actually work because this is our problem. How we can be able to develop our rubric. Can you imagine my dear teachers working with statements in the rubric, in the real rubric? So maybe we can you can agree together, and then if you are of the math group, and then have a common subjects, and then come up with a sample rubric. Or maybe we can do this one. Now, by the way, I would like you to tour to the Robistar first, huh? This is actually in Espanol, and this is for free. And you can also what's this? You can also register as a user of this. So here is the home, and what you can see here are actually these pictures, no? And the dialog box that you can actually work. Now below is create a rubric. So you can actually create a rubric immediately by looking at, for example, in the oral. No, oral presentation, multimedia. These are some of the examples, no. So we know that we have difficulties, no, of doing or formulating, no, the requirement in the rubric, particularly in the criteria, description criteria. So I'd like to go to this one. What do you want? Tell me. What do you want? What example do you want that we will check? Yes, sir, Braille Kadigal. What is your option, sir? We will go up. Okay, let us try to have a in arts, in arts. Okay, let's click that arts. Now what will appear to you here will be all about example of customized rubric, no. So we have here an example for oral projects, for product projects, for multimedia projects, for science project, for research and writing, and for work skills. So arts man itong ipili na to, no? May math, may art.
Na-share, sir.
So, for example, for art. So let us try to check. They have options here. Analysis of an work of art, art history, creating a painting, making a collage. Yes, ma'am, Gayutin.
Wala po kami makita.
Yes, ma'am. Kindly open your microphone. What is it that you'd like to share, ma'am?
Sir Lin, wala po kaming makita sa screen po.
Hello, ma'am Florence. Okay, allow me to tour first, no, with an example para you will be able to see that it's easy to work on with this one using this technology with this in this website. For example, analysis of making a collage. Okay, making a collage. I will click making a collage. So now it will appear here, no? An example of a picture of how you will work with a rubric. So rubric project name, if you have an example of your rubric, if you're doing it already, so you can work with this. And then you have categories now, and then you can see here 4, 3, 2, 1. And then in the category, there are a lot of categories. Sorry.
Doc Lindy, good morning po. Dr. Lulab.
Ay, sorry.
Dr.
Thank you. What daw may makita? You cannot see. You cannot see. Sorry, ha.
Dr. Lulab.
Sorry. Because I shifted my presentation.
Dr. Dr. Lindy. Good morning po. Sina
Thank
po
you, Sir Bon. Thank you, Sir Bon. Can you see it now here? This one,
Yes po,
Sir
Dr.
Nap. Sir
Yes
Nap.
po.
Can you
Yes
see
po.
this? Can you see it? This one.
Opo, Dr. Lindy.
Kindly have a thumbs up, Sir Nap.
Sige po niya, ma.
Can you see this one already?
Yes po, Dr. Lindy. Kita po namin.
Ay.
Wala.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes po,
Can you hear
Dr.
me, Sir Nap?
Hear you.
Is it in my end that I cannot be heard?
Actually, you are audible po, sir. Dr. Lulab, good afternoon po. Ay, good morning.
Okay. Hello. Attention to theme, meaning if it appears on the thematic. So this will now be your rubric. So a total of, if it has only 4 category, with 4 being the highest, so a total of 16. So you can submit it. If you wanted to have more specific, then you can add more categories if you want to. So this is how you will be working with rubrics. Then you can submit that one. It will prompt you, Robistar, please let us know your zip code. So munta na siya because this is a website. And if you want to be a member of this, then you can. And then you will be led to some of the prompt questions for you to make use of this. No. So this is an example of that. No. All right. Here you can see at the top different types of a rubric for teachers, no, that you will be working on, no. So Quick Star, Robistar, Academic Skill Builder, Persuade Star, Classroom Architect, Equity, Trackstar, and a lot, no. So you can also find rubric. What rubric do you like? You can encode the rubric you want. But if you want to create your own rubric, you can create, and these are some of their options. So for a practice, maybe you can have a choice from each of rooms, and then we can have an example, no, for your output in this particular activity, because this is what I'd like you to learn. And I'd like to tell you, my dear teachers, that there are other website that supports also. We can go to their website, or in a school, for example, no, they have website that are posted in the net that you can actually make use if you will allow. No, but others are actually asking for payment. So go to the one that we are free, no. So maybe for English, they can have the oral projects. For TLA, they can have products, multimedia, asan ni siya mabilong. For science, you can have an example here. For research writing as well, for work skills, for math, art, and music. So I believe we have all of these subjects in different areas right now, so you can choose one. So why not have a try? May I ask you to choose and agree all together of a particular sample, and then we can probably limit at least 4 category, and then you make a try of this. To those who knows this already, so you can be a support to your group mates there in each room. To those who are in the Facebook Live, you can also do that if you are connected with the internet. And those who are also in a virtual room. Okay, can we have a try for this? Maybe we can have a sample. It's already 11:20. No, we can have a sample on this because later on you will have an activity in the afternoon. Can we get a sample for the science? We will give you a time to do that. Yes, ma'am. Sir.
Si Sir Napdeo po. Sir, meron kami ditong sample, sir, sa room B po.
Room B, okay.
Opo,
Thank
si Ma'am
you.
Emily Bailon.
Okay, thank you. Welcome, Ma'am Bailon. Kindly show your output, ma'am, using this one. And you know, if you are working with this, you are expecting now the students to come up with a creative output of the activity that they will be working on. Okay, please welcome with a round of applause virtually to Miss Bailon from room B. Kindly share, ma'am, your slide. Kindly share your screen for everyone and then kindly explain. And maybe we can have another for where? For music, probably. Yes, Ma'am Bailon. Turn up. Is it okay?
Yes po, Dr. Lulab. Actually, work in progress, sir, but she is willing to present her output.
Okay, sige. So, are you telling me, Sir Nap, that I still have give them time to work on this? Okay,
Yes,
sir. How many minutes, Sir Nap? Mga 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes?
Mga 5 to 10 minutes po siguro, Dr. Lulab.
Sige, you will be the one to give us the cue of the time, Sir Nap.
Yes po, Dr. Lulab. That's noted. Thank you, Doc.
Okay. I hope you are learning of what we are what I am talking a while ago of our discussion.
assessment rubrics for Contextualized assessment tasks.
Alright. So I know, Ma'am Bing, that our participants are still on their adrenaline right now in learning so much more. But before anything else, we need to have an audience check for a while. Tingnan po natin if our teachers are still here on our training and actively participating po sa ating mga workshops and webinars na inilalahad po natin. So please do not forget to use our respective hashtags in our group chat so that malaman po namin in what particular districts you are in, and also your facilitators and your supervisors in PSDSS can be able to locate you directly po if you're still here. Ayan. So we have here from Estela Diwara. Good day, watching from Simong Elementary School, Kapalong West District. Basta Kapalong, Mambing. Mike K.
Another Facebook user, good morning. Watching from New Maligaya Elementary School, Carmen Davnor.
Alright. Also, we would like to, I just received, Ma'am Bing, a very wonderful news right now. Congratulations to the DepEd Davao del Norte, to Sir Vicente Pines, together with our beloved apps in the Filipino Publico for being able to bag the overall champion in the Salicultura Regional Research Congress. Wow, that's a very wonderful, a wonderful news for today. Hindi lang a winner, but overall champion. So we would like to commend also our participants, our senior high school students who participated in our Salicultura Research Congress in the region. We have Earl Catalan, Joshua Paglinawan, and Ralph Riel Tabanaw, together with, again, their coach, Sir Vicente Pines of Santo Tomas National High School. The DepEd Division of Davao del Norte is really proud to all of you and to all other achievements na makuha pa, not only by Santo Tomas National High School, but also with the different schools here located at the DepEd Davao del Norte. So, with that mean, ma'am, being ng atuang mga product jud diri sa DepEd Davnor are surely equal aspects of being.
I agree, sir. And this time, we would like to we will be posting the attendance link for this morning. Sir Joash?
The attendance link, yes, that is the attendance link
For this morning.
for our morning session. I believe also now to give us a clear vision of what we are going to do in our breakout session, we have here, Ma'am Bing.
Once again, we would like to call on Ma'am Melanie P. Dayaday, Master Teacher 2 of Sagayan National High School, to give us clear understanding about our task for today. Ma'am Melanie?
Hi, ma'am. Good morning.
Hello, good morning once again to everyone and to you both, ma'am and sir, our beautiful and handsome hosts. Okay. Mo-proceed na ako, sir.
Yes, you can proceed now.
All right.
Diba?
Okay, all right. My task this morning is once again to present to you and to explain to you our expected output for this morning. Okay, so thank you very much atong TWD nga ilahan ng gi-post karon ang ato ang test item prototype na template. Okay, so this is just a continuation of what we have done yesterday. So yesterday we have identified the unpacked milk and then the evidence claim, the equity, mga. So diretso na lang ta diri sa letter E, no? So sa letter E nga item po, sir. Ma'am and sir, letter E. Okay. Sige pa, sir. Okay. Letter E po na item. Okay. So this one, so yesterday you have identified the problematic situation and then you have stated there the unpack statement and then you have already composed your multiple choice question po na tests dyan. No? So with the choices or options following the taxonomy of options. So okay na po na siya, no? So kaya atong gi-required sa ato ang assessment is multiple choice item na pwede na to i-check. And then another, because our topic this morning is about rubrics, so we're going to compose another type of assessment that is open-ended, no? Open-ended assessment po na pwede ma-perform sa mga bata using rubrics. So, kung unsa man to inyong na-unpack na milk kagahapon og nahimuan ninyo og multiple choice item, buhatan nato siya karon og performance test item in which pwede ta makahimo og rubric using the Ruby Star nga app, no? So what we are going to do is that diri sa ato ang statement, buhatan nato siya dinha kung sa ato ang performance output para pahimuon nato sa mga bata. And then we're going to place the rubric. Ana lang, mo lang jud na siya ang ato ang buhaton karon. So using the Ruby Star, balikon nako, please participants, i-take note ninyo ang katong kung wala na mo ninyo nakuha kaganina sa input ni Sir Lulad ang unsa ni ang website sa Ruby Star. You're going to type rubystar.forteachers /index.php. So akong balikon ang Ruby Star, no, in which diha mo maghimo sa inyuhang rubric, no? All you have to do is just place your mga items ninyo kung unsa gusto ninyo i-measure sa mga bata, and then automatic mo provide ang Ruby Star. All you have to do is just copy ang inyong nahuman nga rubric and then paste dito sa ato ang template. So mo ni siya ang website rubystar.forteachers.org/index.php. So again, balikon nako, rubystar.forteachers.org/index.php. So kung pwede mohangyo ko sa ato ang TWG nga kung pwede ilahang kuan diri ay naa di ay. Okay. All right. So I think that's all for this morning. Isumpay lang nato, no, ang ato ang kuan, and then pwede na nato mapasa ang ato ang kay rubric naman lang karon. Okay, so I think that's all for today. So once again, good morning everyone. Back to you, ma'am and sir, our beautiful hosts.
Alright, thank you so much, Ma'am Melanie. That was again, ladies and gentlemen, Ma'am Melanie P. Dayaday, Master Teacher 2 of Sagayen National High School. Thank you so much, Ma'am, for that very thorough discussion that she gave us so that we have a clear thing on what to do on our breakout session.
Actually, it's all about rubric making.
Yes, ma'am. Once again, I would like also to emphasize again po, our regional winners. We have the event is kauna-unahang Sali Kultura sa Kongreso ng Pananaliksik sa Senior High School that was attended by our 3 students po from St. Thomas National High School, mainly Danieka Earl Catalan, Joshua Paglinawan, Ralph T.L. Real Tabanao, and with their coach, Sir Vicente Pines, and with their education program supervisor, Binibining
Marlene
Publico. Yes po, and they grab hindi lang basta winner po, but overall champion. So lahat po ng patimpalak na sinalihan nila doon sa on that event ay nanalo po sila sa lahat. Ayun po.
Once again, congratulations.
Once again, and the DepEd Davao del Norte is very proud to all of you.
And right now, before we proceed to our breakout session, may we remind Sir January? May we remind po all of the breakout presenter for your attendance. Please choose or click the breakout presenter in joining us section. And to all additional facilitators, please choose also additional facilitator in joining us section. Again po, to all the breakout presenter, please choose or click breakout presenter in joining us section. And all additional facilitators, please choose also additional facilitator in joining us section.
Alright, but do not forget also to have our attendance this morning. So the attendance link is posted already in our screens right now. So please take note of that so that you will be able to have our attendance for this morning.
And of course, your attendance will be your proof for your certificate.
Yan po.
Aside from the output, of course.
Alright, so once again, that concludes our morning session for day 3, Mambing. I am Rene Marco Ansulamin.
And I am Trinidad Agudo.
And see you all sa breakout session in our plenary this afternoon. Have a nice day, everyone.
Oh no! The internet can be a risky zone for everyone. Our young learners are most vulnerable to the dangers that it may bring. Online hazards may have tragic consequences. But worry no more. Protecting our young learners against threats of the cyber neighborhood is just a matter of awareness. With Google's Be Internet Awesome program, we can help our young learners to be safe and responsible users of the internet. Aiming to promote digital citizenship, Be Internet Awesome anchors on 5 themes called the Internet Code of Awesome. First, be Internet smart or share with care. Second, be Internet alert or don't fall for fake information online. Next is be Internet strong or secure your private information. It is followed by be Internet kind or don't be a cyber bully. And last is be Internet brave or talk it out when in doubt. To support its pedagogical value, Be Internet Awesome is supported by tools and resources evaluated by the International Society for Technology in Education and received the seal of alignment for readiness. To begin, let's get some light on the engaging computer game called Interland. Interland is intended for learners aged 7 to 12. It provides fun and adventure-packed hands-on experiences to help young learners discover safety measures in using technology. Players will be called Internauts. Internauts will explore 4 floating islands: the King Kingdom, the Reality River, the Mindful Mountain, and the Tower of Treasure. Each island features a challenging game equivalent to a different lesson. Internauts will collaboratively embark on a quest to combat evil hackers, fishers, oversharers, and bullies by practicing online safety and online etiquette. With this free interactive game, young learners will be empowered to achieve technological independence. It will also help them to distinguish between safe and unsafe behavior in online interactions. This includes attaining a sense of what to share on the internet and whom to share it with, depending on the content. Now, let's take a look at the Be Internet Awesome curriculum. The Be Internet Awesome curriculum features teaching guides on topics such as privacy and security, cyberbullying and online cruelty, phishing and scams, online reputation, and inappropriate content. Aside from teaching guides, the Be Internet Awesome curriculum also contains posters, worksheets, and slide decks that can be used concurrently with the game Interland. To encourage the entire family in promoting safe internet usage, the Be Internet Awesome Pledge can be reviewed and signed all together by parents and their children. Still, the most important safety measure is open communication between the members of the family and the school. Together, we can close the gap that surrounds the digital citizenship of young learners in the present technological age. Remember, play safe, learn safe, and stay safe.